Hello everyone, welcome back to this channel. It's been a while here and I'm excited to be back on this channel. In this video, we shall be talking about research gap. After downloading your literatures or your journal, whatsoever you know them to be, they're the same thing. And after proceeding to map out your literature, the next thing is to identify your research gap. As a matter of fact, the main reason for mapping out a literature is to identify a gap. Without gap, there is no how your research is going to contribute to the body of knowledge in your field of study. I also want you to know this is very important. A quality research is the research that fills a problematic gap that is in existence. And once a research fills a problematic gap that has been in existence, that research has automatically advances knowledge or science in the field of study in which it is being carried out. What do I mean by this? What I mean is that a research is not quality until it has identified a gap, and not just anyhow gap, but a problematic gap, and at the same time provide solution to that gap identified. So it is only research of this nature, or let me say it is only research that does this, that has meaningfully contributed to knowledge, or that has meaningfully advances the body of knowledge in the area it is being carried out, no matter where the area is, either in medicine, accounting, economics, business admin, arts, music, engineering, whatsoever. So research gap is very important, quite vital in a research study, because without it, there is nothing that research is eventually doing. It's going to be as if you just want to write an article. That's it. Just an ordinary article. So research gap is very vital to every research project or any research article. For your work to be quality, a problematic gap has to be there. And it is only that gap that enables a researcher or the research that's been carried out to meaningfully contribute to the body of knowledge. Okay, so what is research gap in itself? When we're talking about research gap, what is research gap in itself? A gap is an unanswered question that hampers the ability to achieve the social mission of a discipline until it is being answered. You see, every research in every discipline or every field has a mission. You don't just wake up one day and say that I feel like carrying out the research. Okay. If you wake up and you feel like carrying out the research, what motivated you towards that research? What is that research geared towards? What have you seen? What have you identified that really want you to carry out that research? What exactly do you want to provide solutions to? And then, what is the contribution that the research will make to the body of knowledge? You see, all these things that I talk about, all combined together, all makes up a research gap. What am I trying to say in essence? What I'm trying to say in essence is that there is no one that can just wake up and say, I want to conduct a research without a particular reason for it. And that particular reason is majorly to fill a gap that has already been in existence. And not just anyhow gap, but a problematic gap that has been identified. And you feel as a researcher that it is through research that a solution, a practicable solution, can be truly arrived at. So that's the reason why it is being said that it is an unanswered question. When you first identify it, when you first discover it, there is no answer to it. And because it is an unanswered question, then it hampers a field, a discipline, an area of study. It hampers them to achieve the social mission of the discipline when it comes to research. And when we are talking about social mission, we are talking about advancing the body of knowledge, contributing to what has already been done, bringing in a new insight into what people does not know or what has been in existence, but then it is not well researched. So every field of study has a social mission, and that is to provide solution through advancing the body of knowledge in diverse ways. And this can only be done with the aid of a research gap. Okay, research gap identifies the concepts a researcher may be researching. When you identify your research gap, it formulates everything you want to talk about in your project, in your article, or whatsoever you are writing. Remember in our previous videos, we talked about dependent variable, independent variable, and stuff like that. Research interest, area of interest, and the likes. But majorly, let me focus on the variables. Your gap is the one that helps you to break down your outcome of the variable, and that's the reason why we call it outcome variable. We can also call it a problematic variable. Do you understand? It can also be called a problematic variable. So this variable identifies the concept a researcher may be researching. I remember in our previous video on variables, the variables of measurement of your dependent and your independent variables all through your research projects or all through the article you will be writing. That's the reason why It is this way that a research gap identifies the concept of research talking about. Because you break it down to dependent and independent variable, which also lead you to finding the variable of measurements, variables you can use to capture your dependent and independent variable. And when you are discussing anything in the body of your research, these are the things you will be talking about. They are the things you want to measure. They are the things you want to find out. They are the things you are going to write findings on. It is the things that you measure or you analyze after gathering data. It is based on those things that you gather your data, do your analysis, discuss your findings, and draw your conclusion, and thereby contribute to the body of knowledge. So, filling a research gap requires identification of a problem that possesses some degree of social impact. Remember, I said that every field, every discipline has a social mission to advance the body of knowledge through various means. So, a research gap allows you to do this. When you use a research gap, you have identified a problem that possesses some degree of social impact. That is a problem that can contribute to the existing body of knowledge, that can advance knowledge, that can bring new insight into things, that can provide solution to things that are problematic, that are affecting people practically or in real way. The pursuit of knowledge that brings a researcher closer to solving a problem. A research gap is the pursuit of knowledge that brings a researcher closer towards solving a problem. So when you identify a research gap, it's actually bringing you closer to solving a problem that you've identified, that you've seen that has already been in existence. And as you are doing that, you are also contributing to the social mission in your field, which is what's advancing the body of knowledge. There are things I want you to note. To make a significant knowledge or literature, or let me say to make a significant contribution to knowledge or literature, a researcher must first thoroughly explore a wide range of contribution from all related fields to identify a meaningful gap that can be filled. What do I mean by this? To this place. What this is trying to tell us is that it is impossible for you to just wake up and say that I've seen a problem and no one has done anything concerning that problem before. Let me just gather my data, analyze, discuss my findings, draw a conclusion, and then report on it. It is not possible. No matter the problem you felt that you've identified, no matter that question, no matter those things that surrounds your research interests, that motivate you towards carrying out that particular research, a scholar somewhere, or let me say somebody somewhere must have, or let me say might have carried out a research to an extent in that area. The only thing is that they might necessarily not discuss it from the angle or from the area that you want to see it from. That might be the only difference. And that is the essence of literature mapping. So literature mapping enables you to identify the extent and the degree to which other scholars or other people has carried out a research in that your interest, in order for you to identify a gap that can be filled. And you cannot do this in a shallow way. It has to be thorough. That is why most of the time, in most institutions for undergraduates, when you want to go about your research projects, they tell you to download a particular number of journal article or literature online, and then you map it out. What are you trying to do? You want to identify a gap. In a more rigorous research for graduate students, or in different kind of field or different kind of institution, even if you are writing a journal article, you want to write a standard way, because finding a research gap is something that is in-depth. It's not something that you can do in a shallow way. You have to approach this thing through what we call systematic literature review. So you go to your institution database, or you go to your library, institution library, and you begin to download recent quality journal, Web of Science journal, in that your area of interest. Then after that, you decide within you, is it the empirical literatures that you're interested in, or is it the conceptual, or both of them? To what degree do you actually need them? And then you begin to narrow them down bit by bit to the literatures that you see that we really contribute meaningfully to what you really want to do. Then after that, you begin to map out those literature in order for you to discover the extent at which your research has been done, and then identify a gap. So that's the reason why I said after this, the researcher can now proceed to appraise the nature of the study that will be needed to fill the gap. It is after you've identified the gap through your thorough mapping out of literature, through your thorough or meticulous downloading of literature and then mapping out the same, it is after this that you discover your gap. After you discover your gap, then you can now decide on how to go about your own study, the approach you want to use to carry out or conduct the research that you are interested in. Research gap or literature gap, also called literature gap, enables you to discover the extent, the area, the manner at which different kind of scholars have researched what you are interested in, and gives you new insights. The area that has been covered, the area that has never been covered, an area that needed further findings, different kind of things. So that is what research gap is all about. In our next video, we shall be talking about how to identify this gap from your literature mapping. Till then, if you are yet to subscribe to this channel, what are you waiting for? Kindly do that. Turn on your notification button, like this video, share with your colleagues all over. If you have any question, do not forget to drop it in the comment section. See you in the next video.